Welcome to the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks Show, a series designed to give you insight into the world of self-publishing and marketing your books. Featuring your hosts, Shannon, the author behind the pen name SC Huston, Ben Pick, and Morgan Lee. Join us several times each month when we interview authors about their self-publishing and marketing journeys, talk to industry leaders, and discuss books about writing, self-publishing, and marketing. Also, stay tuned for the best self-publishing tip or trick of the week. Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon, ready on the pen name of SC Huston. Today, we are interviewing with YouTuber and paranormal romance author, Esther Andújar. Before we talk to her, let's get some updates on whatever's going on in our lives.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ben Pick. Every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors on Writing to Write on YouTube. And I'm also working on publishing my third novel in my ongoing Into Void series,
Which I am beta reading right now, so I'm excited for that.
And I am editing right now, so I'm also very excited for that.
We're all about you, Ben.
Well, you are all great people. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
And my name is Morgan Lee. I am the author of two books, first two in a Dark Fantasy trilogy. Book 3 is coming out this year, 2024. I'm shooting for March, but it might be a little bit later, so stay tuned for that. And I'm planning some updates to my YouTube channel. Not ready to say what I am doing yet, but I have plans. They are in the works, so that's all I have going on right now.
All right, knock on wood that what you want to do comes to fruition.
Yes.
Well, I have some big things going on at the moment with the author side. At this exact moment, I am setting up my direct sales for my website. And at the time that this interview releases, the links will be up and available for the direct sales. And so what I'm doing on my website, I will be making like the paperback available because Ingram Spark has a beta feature. It's only open to a few authors. And I've got the slide in with Dale L. Roberts because he was doing this. But Ingram Spark is setting it up where you can have, basically they'll set up a page for you for a book that you want to have ship, your paperback ship. So there isn't any other platform that can do this. HeyHip is what I'm using for most of my stuff. And there's a plugin through BookVault, which I appreciate BookVault, but I cannot get my documents to look right with BookVault for the paperback because they're set up on UK sizes and I'm doing everything, setting up and formatting everything through Atticus and it doesn't accept any of those. So I'm like fudging them and like, this looks terrible. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I thought I would just do digital files. Then Ingram opened up the beta for their paperbacks, but it is only open to US authors selling to US buyers right now. And it's a brand new feature. I'm going to be trying it out, see how it works, but basically you'll set it up like a sales page and it'll be one link where people can go and buy the paperback and it ships directly to them. Ingram Spark collects the money and then they just pay out to you. So, which is really nice. You can't really do that with anything. Like you can set up like a PayPal link, which I've done in the past, but someone buys your book through PayPal, like your paperback, you have to make sure that you're on top of that. You have to go ship it, get the book, ship it through the mail. It's not automatic process. So I'm really looking forward to that. With HeyHip, with the direct sales, I am setting up bundles that aren't going to be anywhere else. And the biggest thing for that is I have done an audiobook recording. I narrated my prequel novella, which took 3 freaking months for 27,000 words. and that was narrating it, editing it I edited it twice, went all the way through and edited it twice, then mastered the files and then put it all together. And so I have that audiobook. So it's going to be I'm calling it the ultimate EcoSoft. So that's the acronym, right? A Curse of Scales and Feathers, a digital bundle. And so that's going to include the ebook for A Curse of Scales and Feathers, the ebook for the prequel novella, the audiobook for the prequel novella, and the PDF file for the coloring book that goes along with the actual main novel as well. I'll have 2 deals because one I use AI narrated voices for my characters because I did mine at first and I hated my voice. So I got rid of all those files and they're actually getting pretty good. They don't sound like near AI, but I thought, well, some people don't really like AI. They don't want anything to do with AI. So I'm going to sell that at a cheaper price. And then I did the last few days, I've gone through and done all my voices in my voice. And then I just played around in Audacity to like change like the tone, the treble, the bass, like try. Did I say, is it bass or bass? It's probably bass, isn't it? And so, but yeah, so I changed those levels. I know what I'm thinking of, but I don't know how to say it right. So I changed all those levels to try and change my character voices, but my male voices are cringe. So yeah, that's what's going on in my author life. I'm hoping that this coming Friday, which this episode will already be out, those links will be available. Along with that, all pre-order links to retailer platforms will be open as well, hopefully by this Friday. So by the time this episode airs, there will be the direct bundles as direct sales on my website, and all the pre-order links will be up with a publication date of January 30th.
I do have a question. Did you already record the audiobook for the whole first book or just the novella?
Just a novella. I wanted to try it out to see if I could do it and if
Mhm.
I would be okay with it, and it's not bad. I mean, I'm partially tone deaf, which is why I can't say a lot of words or I don't know how to say things, and so when I listen to my voice back, it just feels monotone, so I
Mm.
don't know. I don't know how it's actually gonna sound to other people. So I'm hoping I have started to do the actual book too. I'm on chapter 3 right now.
Okay.
So, but I have to put that on hold because I have a lot of things going on until I'm actually taking vacation from December 15th to January 15th. So I don't know when that's going to be available. And I'm kind of want to see how the reception is of the audiobook is before I go all the way through. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I have started on the main novel.
Exciting. I'm interested to see how that works out.
All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about our guest author today. Esther Marie Andújar is a Puerto Rican writer aspiring to be a hybrid author. She writes under the romance and fantasy genres for YA and adult, and maybe she would dabble in MG in the future. And that's middle grade. She shares her writing journey, whether she's working on the K-pop book, Marina, or one of her many secret projects for her pen name on her YouTube channel. Besides writing, she's always watching an East Asian drama or rewatching Buffy the Vampire or Lord of the Rings. And now what our guests. Hello and welcome, Esther. Would you please take a moment to tell us a little bit more about yourself and cover maybe anything that I might have missed?
Yeah, pretty much self-explanatory. A Puerto Rican writer. I am currently in Puerto Rico, hence why the ridiculously halo behind me, because the sun is it is a thing. It's hot here all the year. Yeah, I share my journey through my YouTube channel. I try to keep the like K-pop, K-drama, East drama, Buffy, loving, Lord of the Ring, geek under the rest, but it usually comes out because it's just like if I'm not writing, I'm doing that. That's the only thing.
Well, I love it. You consume all this stuff that influences you in your writing, from what I can see. So, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of our questions. What made you want to start writing? And can you tell us about your journey to self-publishing your first work?
Yeah. So originally out of the all the creative avenues that are out there, singing and writing are the ones who like really pull me the most. And while I love singing, that is something that I keep for myself. Never wanted to be like a professional singer or anything like that. It's just not my vibe. I'm okay with just singing in the car or in the shower. Uh But I started writing poems in Spanish, and I love how I could express my feelings and the feelings of my friends through poetry. And it ended up happening that a lot of my friends asked me to like write a poem about this, and they will just like share what they were feeling, and I will just like write it down. I have friends that just didn't know how to put into words what they wanted to tell their significant others. So a lot of the time I was writing poems for my friends' significant others. So it was just very enjoyable. And that kind of like was my introduction to writing. And then during eighth grade, I started writing prose fiction. And I had a, what I call the Pocahontas notebook, because I think it had a Pocahontas on the front. And I wrote a horrible, really problematic romance novel that my friends will pass it along to read every time I finish a chapter. So that was kind of like how I was introduced to like writing in between those avenues. Thank God I wrote that in pencil, so time just like erase it in the ether and no one can find it or read it. So I'm saved in that aspect. As for self-publishing, I've always wanted to do both paths, like self and traditional. Not because I wanted to know what it's like, and there's no shame for people who have that as their reason. It's just life, time and time again, tells me it's not like smart to have all of your eggs in the same basket. And as the algorithms in the interweb get smarter and the integration with AI gets like cleaner and smoother, I realized that I had to diversify my like writing business. And that's also why I'm embracing the pen name thing, because it just helps navigate all of that. That's mainly why I'm like want to do a hybrid path, just so when the cows are really skinny on one side, then probably the other cows are on a better shape. So I'm not shooting myself.
Well, it's definitely a shame that you no longer have that journal with the handwritten notes in there because those are treasure troves of some of all of our early works.
I
Now,
kind of the same way when she said that she was glad it was gone. I was like, "No, I would have wanted it to."
Exactly,
It
exactly.
was it was so problematic that I'm just like, if it was written in pen, I will probably be like, let's just burn that. No, that is horrible.
Yeah, but you can see how far you've come along the way, and you can, 30 years from now, share it with your grandkids or whatever.
You might be able to sell it for like $1,000,000. Here's the worst manuscript ever written by Esther.
Yep.
Oh no.
But
Oh.
as for self-publishing versus traditionally publishing, how'd you make the decision to do one over the other, or first rather? And then did anyone or anything inspire you to self-publish?
So for my decision, I look at it project by project, and pretty much the project tells me which avenue is the best. I'm gonna use Marina the Vampire for example. I knew when I had the idea, I already knew that it was going to be like a hard sell to get an agent with it. And if by any chance I was a lucky one to get an agent with it, it was going to be a tougher sell to get it to a publisher. Because vampires, people thought they were going to be a thing, but they're only a thing for like well known names. They're not a thing for debut authors. So knowing that, I was like, yeah, Marina's not gonna be for trap up. On top of that, I wanted to do like a gender swap to that alpha male, morally gray, I will burn the world for you kind of character. So I didn't want it to do a male vampire of that. There's that in vampires, werewolves, fairy, werewolf, everywhere. Even just a normal dude, there's that. I was like, I wanted to do that, but with a female character. And on top of that, to be a person of color character, and how like that culture and society kind of affects how morally gray this person is. And Marina toys the line a lot between an anti-hero and a plain villain throughout the romance, which is a very slow burn because of that. So it was very clear for me to be like, this is better as a self-help because I have a better chance to find myself the readers who are looking for this that I've been looking, and since I haven't found it, I'm writing it. So that was my train of thought for that specific one. And for the rest, it's just usually that I'm like, is this something that will work for Drop Up? It not. Is this YA? Because I don't know if I ever do tripod for adult. Definitely, I will do more YA middle grade on the tripod side than the self pub.
So, going more into Marina the Vampire, which is available on Kindle Vella, can you tell us about the decision to publish on that platform specifically and a little bit about your experience on it?
Yeah. So originally, what attracted me to Kindle Vella was that it felt very similar to fan fiction writing, which is a venue of writing that I've been doing for years. Actually, fanfic writing was what brought me back to writing when I stopped during high school. And since it was sort of familiar, I was like, "Oh, this is something that I can do." It has the perk that you get paid, but that was not my focus. My focus was like, this is familiar, and also I'm really good at writing consistently if I have someone waiting for me to for the next chapter. So that's why I've been writing Marina for over a year pretty much consistently. Even when we had a hurricane, I was like trying to work on it because I have readers and I know they're waiting for the next chapter. So it's the decision to do Kindle Vella was pretty much very like selfish and self-beneficial for me than just be like, oh, I can write in and get some money out of it. I was like, no, I can write and finish something because people are there waiting for it. I'm sort of peer pressure in a good way.
And so we have talked about Kindavella here on the podcast before, a previous guest, but just in case if there's anyone new, I guess I didn't think about this, but maybe we should explain that Kindavella is a serialized platform on Amazon, but it is only open to US authors still, which has been like that for 2 years going on, I think, at this point. So I don't know that Amazon ever has plans to ever expand that outward. I feel like they're not going to.
Which I find it sad and kind of detrimental because the US market is not used to serialized fiction, especially not the way Kindle Vella is built. But other markets like the European market and the Asian market are used to because a lot of them read a lot of manga online and they only read them once a week when the new chapter comes out. And a lot of them read in English. So it's not like, opening to those markets will force you to have other languages, which will be a good thing because then you open to more authors and more readers
Yeah.
expanding beyond the English language. But I digress. It's not my
Yeah.
business. And Kindle Bell has been nice to me, so
Yeah.
I shouldn't
Yeah.
complain too
Um,
much.
and then I know that you started the series Marina the Vampire under your name, Esther and
Hmm.
Andújar, but you've recently changed to a pen name. So what prompted
Yes.
that change?
Yes, so that changed. So for anyone listening, I'm gonna say it slowly. I switched it to a name under Mireia Navar. That's the name that's gonna hold all of my paranormal romances. I mainly changed it because Esther is supposed to just be the name for Tripod, and I still have mentorship. Probably by the time this episode is out, I probably already heard about that mentorship for unaged authors. And I was like, if I am sort of getting close to start like querying, and in the next, I don't know, 3 to 4 years or 5, I start selling Trapop, I should, with all the blood and all the things that Marina has, I should not have it under Esther. So that's what prompted the change, just to clear out and pretty much help the algorithm.
And I can understand it because you said that you would probably seek traditional publishing for your YA and middle grade. So yeah, you don't want all that blood
Hmm.
associated with your
Yeah.
your name. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely understand that. So for what you said with you started on Kindle because that satisfied your need to have readers waiting on you.
Mhm.
So it makes sense that you've also moved to other subscription platforms like Patreon and Ko-fi or Ko-fi, depending on how people want to say it. So I kind of feel like I know the answer to this, but maybe you have more to expand on it. What prompted you to publish on these platforms?
So what prompted me was being inclusive. I am one of those rare Kindle Vella authors that I can publish, but I cannot read on the platform. Because Puerto Rico still being a U.S. territory, I cannot buy coins to purchase episodes to read on Kindle Vella. But I can certainly publish, and they are more than well. They are very happy to pay me for the episodes that get read, but I cannot read in the platform. So I was like, okay, if I cannot read and if I have any followers that are outside of the US market and they want to read Marina, how they're going to do that? So I got Coffee and Patreon. Also, I thought there's a lot of people who don't like Amazon and they don't want to use platforms or products by Amazon. So let me be as inclusive as I can, even if it just add to my workload to open membership through Kofi and Patreon. I do have to have kind of like the caveat that in the terms of service with Kindle Vella, you can publish elsewhere. It's just have to have a higher price compared to Kindle Vella. So with that, I was like, well, if members have to pay more compared to what they could get in Kindle Vella if they had the access to it, I'm gonna give them more. That is not gonna be on Kindle Vella. So my members have access to my Pinterest board. They have access to my playlist, which if you have ever seen any of my videos on YouTube, playlists for me are like a huge thing in my writing journey, my writing process. And they also get access to cutscenes and bonus scenes. I make sure the bonus scenes are not like pivotal for the plot. So if you're only reading on Kindle Villa, you're not missing from the plot. With the bonus scenes, you spend more time with some characters. You may get some backstory that it's not influential to the plot, but gives you a little bit more understanding of the character. So it's kind of like it is a perk. It is definitely a perk, but it's not. It's if you're only reading on Kindle Vella, I wouldn't say you're not missing out, but your life will be okay if you just read on Kindle Vella. If you want a little bit more, then head over to the members on Coffee or Patreon, whichever platform you decide.
Do you have any tips or tricks for publishing serial fiction?
Will say definitely write ahead of time. And just besides the obvious thing about reading serial fiction, because even though it's similar to novel writing, you do have to have a hook at the end of your chapters so your readers are like hooked and cannot wait for the next installment, which is similar to an ending to a book, but on serials you have to do it almost every episode or every chapter. But definitely highly recommend to write in advance because it helps with maintaining a schedule. Kindle Vella is, I will compare it to, like, let's say you have a pool and you have a bunch of people just dropping colors drops in the pool. The more drops you release, the bigger is your color, so the more noticeable you are. So you either release more times in a week or you decide to be like, okay, I'm just going to post once a week, but you have to stick to that schedule. So writing ahead of time will help you stick to that and also will help you with your mental load. Like I usually was like a month to a month and a half ahead, but with a hurricane in Puerto Rico that happened not 2023, 2022, I've been for the longest time just writing the episode of that week. And it's just it is way too quick of a turnaround because I have to write it, revise it, edit it, post it to my members first, and then to Kindle Vella. So highly, my biggest tip is just write ahead of time, like well ahead of time.
Do you have any specific tips or tricks on publishing on these subscription platforms?
So, subscription platforms are a little tricky. You do gotta talk about them constantly because there's no, at least not for now. I don't know if they ever will roll away for you to run like ads on subscription platforms, but you are the one who has to funnel people to Patreon or Coffee. So you have to kind of like grapple with the idea that you have to talk about it and you have to make sure the link is accessible, like very easily accessible. So it's just a matter of one or two clicks and people are already there. So just talk a lot about it and make it easy for people to find it because that's at this moment that I know of, that's the main way you can get people to your Patreon or to your coffee memberships to read your story.
I've never really dabbled in Facebook ads before. I haven't got that far yet in my author journey because there's way too many other things I'm learning. But I mean, would that be an option, or could you run like a Facebook ad to your subscription platforms?
Probably. You can do like boost your Instagram posts or do the same thing
Oh
with
yeah.
Facebook. I will caution everyone to not put too much money unless you're getting a lot. Because if you have let's say if you're starting and you just have one member, your tier is like $5, $6, let's say, you already burned that money in just either one boost or just one ad. And
Mm,
with serialized fiction, you gotta be smart about it. Definitely have a lot to read so you can kind of like start seeing the money coming in, and then maybe start and allocating some of that money to boost posts on your social media. Maybe see if you can get into like any interviews like this or podcast interviews. Maybe if you want to dabble on ads, it's just I don't know how well it's gonna go because it's a subscription base,
I
not
understand that.
like a one-time payment like a kind of book. You're funneling people to ask them to pay monthly. So it's kind of. I mean, if we have anyone that have done it, just let us know in
Yeah,
the
let's
comment
go.
of your experience. So, because that will be interesting. I just haven't done it because it's at the moment it's not a smart money
Yeah,
move
I
for me.
understand. Yeah, I listen to the podcast Subscriptions for Authors, which is also on YouTube, and that is done by the founders of Ream, which is another subscription platform. But they talk to
Yeah.
people who are, they're all just about subscription. So they've talked to people who are on Patreon, people who are on Ko-fi, asking them how everything works. And one thing that I remember them talking about was like they set something up, like several authors who wrote like the same thing. They set it up where one author was releasing something one month that continued with the other author the next month, and then continued. So it was bringing audiences through all the different authors. And then I was talking during one of my writing sprints, I think 2 weeks ago or so, and Inka was there, and I asked Inka, I said, "Have you ever done?" And Inka Ream is a previous guest here on the podcast, and she talked about Ream and subscription platforms. And I asked her, had she ever done like a book funnel promotion? So like you can do cross promotions with other authors, and she said, "Oh, I never thought about that," and I hadn't thought about it until that moment because I had just done a cross promotion for Kickstarters. So with other authors, we did a cross promotion to our audiences of all of our Kickstarters. So you could probably do the same thing with other Ream authors in the same genre, or not other Ream, sorry, subscription platform authors.
Yeah, yeah. It will be a matter of like research and kind of like networking, which is very important. That's why you gotta keep talking about it,
Yeah,
so people know what you're doing, and maybe you can find people who are doing something similar or the same. And with subscriptions and serialized stories that are in platforms that don't have like ads, platform in it, like it's not built in. Again, it's just like a lot of talking, word of mouth, and networking. It's really what's gonna
Mm.
get you to, because you're with subscription, you're building a readership, so it's gonna take you a long time. It's not a fix of like, oh, this is just like a week or a month fix. No, this is something that the intention is to build on it for a long time, so you have loyal readers with you.
Yeah. But I mean, that goes to the idea of what was it developed back in the 70s or something, the idea of 1,000 true fans, and you can live off that. So 1,000 true fans are fans who buy everything and anything that you put out. Like if you put out the ebook, the audiobook, the paperback, the hardback, they buy all of it. Any merch you do, they buy all of it. So if you get 1,000 true fans, they can sustain you. So, which is a long road, I think, trying to get there. But,
Yeah.
all right. If you could pass on one thing to aspiring self-published writers, what's your best publishing tip or trick?
Do your research. Do your research. I don't know how much I can stress this, but do your research. They are not stupid questions. This is something that I have seen and heard a lot. People do not do their research and Google things or ask around because they feel their questions are stupid. And they're not. Again, in the writing and reading community, there's so many things that are new or not publicly known or are sort of gatekeep in a way. It makes people feel like their questions are stupid, and they're not. Just Google is your friend, ask people around. Believe me, really believe me when I tell you there are more people in the writing community that are more than happy to share the knowledge they have for free compared to the ones that put a paywall in front of that knowledge. I will give an example. The AuthorTubers Writing Conference. It's completely free, 100% free. Currently, you have 2 years to go through all the videos, and there's so much knowledge in it. So do your research and thank yourself later. That's the only tip I gotta do. I gotta say, do your research.
I want to plug something here, talking about the AuthorTube Writing Conference. My partner that I've been running it with the last 2 years here, this year coming up in the previous year, Margaret Bernard, she came up with this idea. And so we're going to try it out. We're going to do this on Thursday coming up, which it will already be out by the time this video goes up. But hopefully we might have another one done. And her idea was doing a live stream, but it's a cross between like a watch party, a reaction video, and oh shoot, I can't remember the third thing. But basically, we're going to be taking one of the presentations and we're going to be watching it on screen, and we'll be showing it on screen, and we'll stop and we'll react to it and give our ideas and our questions we come up with. And then at the end, we're bringing the presenter on to ask them questions about it. And the first one we're doing is MK Williams audiobooks, because the fact that she came up with this idea. She's like, you're doing an audiobook right now, and I'm an editor for an audiobook magazine. So let's do this one. This one works well. And MK is going to come on. MK Williams is going to come on after the end of us watching it and reacting to it. And the idea is to celebrate those who have presented, at the same time to bring more awareness to the AuthorTube Writing Conference. And of course, it's going to bring awareness to those presenters as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
And more information, because probably by the time you guys do that live, compared to when the original live was done, there's probably more information and technology that has changed. So again, there's a plethora of free information, and there's a lot of wonderful people who are more than happy to share the knowledge. You just gotta ask and do your research.
Well, let's shift over to every author's favorite topic, marketing. We kind of skimmed a little bit with it, or we mentioned a little bit with boosting your posts and creating Facebook posts about it. But what marketing do you do for your work that seems to work the best?
Okay, when I was doing marketing for Marina, because of the name switch, I archive a lot of those. Pretty much everything I archive it. But Instagram's Reels did the best. I had a few decent views, nothing viral, because usually for viralness, you have to be over 10K views to be considered viral. But I had a few. I remember the reel that I introduced Ethan, which is the love interest. That one got like 2 or 3K views. And it was like a short reel, like I will say 10 to 12 seconds. And it was just like images, just an aesthetic reel. And when I did those and did reels sharing like quotes of a chapter that was already out or the one that was coming that week, those got hundreds and some of them got thousands of views. And I could see the read through on Kindle Vella. I could like with the reporting, I could just like do like a week specific or like day specific. So I will just look at when the reel started to pick up, and then I will see if it will show any new reads compared to what I've looked before, and it actually shows some reads. So definitely for me, Instagram Reels did really good. I also did Instagram posts as reminders, so that helped with my members and my Kindle Vella readers to be like, oh, our episode got released. Because I think my members do get an email from Coffee and from Patreon, but I never search if my Kindle Vellas get notification for the readers. So I was just like, I just want to cover myself. So let's do post. They will usually come like 30 minutes before the episode was out. So people will knew, oh, the new episode is out. Things like that. So for me, Instagram was really helpful.
Is there any marketing that you've tried that you would never want to do again?
I don't know if never is the right word, but I will be hesitant to try TikTok again. I tried it for Marina and it did not a lot. It just, and I don't know if it was my fault or if it's because there's not a lot of serialized readers on TikTok. Because I tend to do research for a few months on each platform and see what people are doing, what kind of posts are kind of like template of the post. It's better than others. And whenever I search the like Kindle Vella hashtag, most of those real TikToks did not have that many views per se, even in accounts that were a pretty good size. So my guess is that there's not a lot of serialized readers on TikTok, but it might be my fault too. So I'm not a TikTok expert, so it
I
could
would
be
ask,
that.
do you consume a lot of TikTok? Do you watch it a lot?
So I have curated my TikTok to be very like reader writer focused.
Mhm.
But I don't spend on a lot of time because it's just like a time suck.
Right.
So I usually go in it once or twice a month, but
Yeah.
it's once or twice for like 5 to 6 hours. So
Yeah.
I'm like, "Ugh, I need to get out of TikTok."
So I would kind of say the same thing. Margaret did a live on her channel about vertical format videos, and she was talking about what was working on the different platforms and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, my TikToks don't do well. I did TikToks for A Curse of Scales and Feathers, and then she asked me, well, do you consume it? Do you watch it? And I was like, no. And then that reminded me that I heard an interview on a different podcast with an author who talked about how the TikTok algorithm works. It's different than YouTube and Instagram. On TikTok, your stuff gets served up to people that you watch. So if you are watching a bunch of TikToks, then your stuff will be served up to them and the audiences that are watching them. So if you're not watching anybody, then there's no one that your TikTok is going to.
Mhm.
Or something along those lines, which is much different. Like YouTube, if you watch something, it has nothing to do with who watches you. When you watch something, it just curates what your feed is. Where on
Yeah.
TikTok, it's what you're watching is what, and that's, I remember when Martin Lejeune, one of our past authors on here, he started following me on TikTok and I started getting active. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna follow you because you don't write in my genre. I'm not gonna watch your stuff from this account
Mhm.
because I don't want to have sci-fi people being served my videos. So
Yeah.
I don't,
Which
but
is which is why I said it might be my fault.
yeah,
And this goes again with me not being able to read Kindle Vella because I'm in Puerto Rico, even though it's a U.S. territory. But I digress. Because what I watch, reading and writing related, it's not Kindle Vella related because I cannot read it.
yeah.
So I was like, it may be me, and maybe that there's no other big community of serialized readers. I won't know
So
per
my
se.
next question that I have here is, what's your best marketing tip or trick? I think you've given us lots of great tips and tricks. I don't know if you have any more. I don't know if you would be willing for me to modify that to with a TikTok. You said you've done that for your Kindle. Have you tried that for your subscription platforms?
So I did, and again, it for some reason my reels were performed better than my TikToks, because I did a few that were very Vela specific, like they are like Marina Vampire is on Kindle Vela, and I did some that were very specific, like if you cannot read on Kindle Vela or you don't want to read in Kindle Vela, they are available on Patreon and Coffee and highlighting all the things that they get that they wouldn't get by just reading on Kindle Vella. And they still, for some reason, I don't know if it's the way that I do short video content, that it's it's more appealing to Reels algorithm compared to the TikTok algorithm. I definitely will be trying it out with my secret pen name because those are short romances. So it's not serialized, but it's also short content, which it's getting a lot of readership, but it's not as big as just like your normal novel length readership. So that will be an interesting thing that I hopefully will be able to share on my YouTube channel, and we shall see what happens. If it's just me, it might be me. It may be a Taylor Swift kind of song situation.
If you did have an answer for the best marketing tip or trick, you're welcome to answer that too. But if you've already said everything that works best for you, we can move on to the next question.
Uh, I mean, I do stress to know your ideal reader because that's how you're gonna get a marketing strategy. I know a lot of my writer friends' pitfall is they go head on to social media without having a clear ideal reader. So if you don't know who's the person reading your stories, how are you gonna market your book? So that's usually what I say, and I'm like, just know who your ideal reader is, and then like coming with a strategy and coming with social media posts ideally will be easier. It might not be easy because you just don't like social media platforms, but at least it will be less like a horrible task or like a punishment if you at least know of that. Also, just be smart with your money when you do ads.
Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of running a soft promotion right now, and I'm definitely going to change what I'm going to post today to include reels on Instagram. So thank you for reminding me to do that because I have some really good posts that would be more dynamic than like a static picture of my book. So that is really, really great advice. I'm going to take into account as soon as we get off this interview. Now, what does your typical writing life look like? Do you plan to write for a set period of time every day? Do you have a weekly, monthly, yearly word count goal? And you mentioned how you want to try and get in advance of where you're writing to with your serial, so you want to have kind of a backlog set up. Like, how do you coordinate all that together?
So this, when I read this question, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a hard question right now to answer," because my family situation has been changing and shifting a lot. I used to be a night writer. I mostly write at night, and I tend to do a lot of 10Ks in 24 hours. For me, it's easier to when I'm drafting, stay in the drafting zone as long and as quickly as I can. Because if I have a lot of in between non-writing, I my brain just forgets what it wrote, and I'm like, I need to go back and read what I wrote to remember what I was, to kind of like what was the voice that I was trying to write, things like that. So I definitely need to zone in. But right now, finding time to write is hard because I am the caretaker of my mom and her mobility has been declining a lot. So I'm gonna be testing some like early mornings or late night writing sessions, just pretty much the time that my mom and the entire world are still asleep or falling asleep. Cause that's kind of like I don't like to be interrupted when I'm writing. Cause then it's just it takes me longer to get back into it. Even with the playlist. Cause I tell people that I have loved myself with my music playlist to like get into the song quicker. But if I get constantly interrupted, it's just it doesn't serve its purpose. I do work part time, so when I get my schedule, I block in my calendar my writing time, and I also physically close the door of the office so my mom knows that I am not available if I'm writing when she's awake. I don't do work counts per se, besides just having an idea how long I want a project to be and the days that I'm doing a 10K, which that's the goal. I just write however much I can in whichever project has the most pressing deadline because I have way too many projects and I don't, I should lower down, but I don't know how to do that. I just like, let's just keep piling more. I want to have options.
I have that issue too.
So, how much time do you spend working as an author versus the other writing related stuff like editing, finding readers, reviewers, marketing, all of that fun extra stuff we have to do?
So interesting enough, for me, revisions and edits. If I'm working on the content of the book, that's writing time. I don't like make a difference of it. But if I'm like working on editing a video for YouTube, or if I am practicing cover making, or if I am like making some post on Canva, things like that, I either try to fit it in throughout my day. If I'm not working, that's probably the thing that I do in the afternoon because afternoons are not conducive for my writing. It doesn't matter if I'm revising, editing, or drafting. Afternoons are not that creative for me. I can do those things in the afternoon, or if I get some downtime when I'm at my part time, I just use my phone and work on Canva through the phone or start like posting on social media or scheduling some post through my phone. So if I have to kind of like estimate the pockets of times that I do those, I would say I don't do more than 2 days a week because I don't write full time, so I cannot afford to spend full-time time on none on the adjacent things on the other business kind of situation. So that's usually how I divide things.
I totally understand that because I don't work anywhere else, and I'm like, how would anyone have time to do all this stuff if they had a job?
I
So you
mean,
wouldn't.
there's a
We
ball
don't.
that's gonna drop. It's just like there's something just gonna be ignored,
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
you get to it when you get to it.
Well, on your website, you also offer reader diversity services. Can you tell us about that and how you balance this part of your business with writing?
So yes, I am a diversity reader, which is similar to a beta reader, but the main difference is that I focus on believable, non-harmful, non-problematic representations. So I read for Puerto Rican, mostly characters that are born and raised in Puerto Rico, but I can read for characters that are born and raised in the US. I do Caribbean Hispanic representation in a more general sense because I cannot do justice to characters that are like Mexican, Peruvian, Colombian. I was like, that's not my culture, and I don't know enough about it to do a good job. And I also read for like fat and female representation just to make sure that the test doesn't have any harmful representations or it's using words that are harmful and just like keep pushing horrible stereotypes. And the way that I balance it is it's pretty similar to writing. I just schedule it in. I am a little bit more protective of the reading time because I'm literally getting paid for it. But it also requires me to pay more attention to the content and kind of like pay attention how it makes me feel and how it could make someone else feel, someone that shares similar identities to mine, and how the way that I ended up feeling how can I put it in a way that is helpful feedback for the other. So I try to like when I try to schedule them not to have that many things to read at the same time. It's just gonna be a lot of like opening a lot of possible wounds at the same time. But when I have them scheduled, I'm like, this is the thing that I need to do, and it's non-negotiable for many reasons. Partially is money, and partially is my mental health.
What are you working on next? And can you share with us when it might be available?
Okay, so so by the time this episode releases, I should be ready to start publishing the short romances under the pen name. And I have zero intentions, as of now, to share. If you're one of those really smart people in the community and you figure it out, just keep it to yourself. Keep that secret for me. It's a secret between you and I. Just don't say anything. By the time this is out, probably Morgan is either finished with one of them or starting another. Like it's just gonna be a lot of switcheroo between me and Morgan for those books in the month of January.
Is she editing for you?
Yes,
Okay,
she is.
nice.
She is. I am on her calendar multiple times. It's gonna be a fun year, friends. Probably the holiday romance will be in the critique partner's hands, and I may or may not come back to the K-pop book. The urgency on that project it depends on the results of the mentorship, and hopefully I will be done with Marina the Vampire. If not, I will be close. And once that is done, I will be then sharing the plans for the spin-off, which, spoiler alert, those stories won't be on Kindle Vella, but my members will have access to it. So if you enjoy some of those characters, characters and you want to know their stories, head over to the memberships. You can choose between Coffee or Patreon, and we will be sharing the new paranormal series, which is focused on witches, and the setting is the old San Juan here in Puerto Rico. So 2024, it looks really busy. I don't know if I will be querying that year or I will be readying myself to query for 2025. But it's just like it's gonna be the year that I will be trying a lot of things. There will be a lot of opportunities, a lot of experiments. So it's gonna be fun, busy, and hopefully I will survive.
Well, we'll have to keep each other updated because next year's supposed to be busy for me as well. I'll be trying out the Ream, which is the subscription platform. I'll be doing 2 more Kickstarters and doing the direct sales and really pushing the direct sales. So lots of stuff coming up for me as well, for like you trying new things. So we'll see. Hopefully we both make it through the year.
Yes, we will make it.
So now we like to do something a bit different. We'd love to do a round of rapid fire questions where you answer each question as quickly as possible. You didn't get these ahead of time. Are you up for playing the game?
Yeah,
Okay. So first question, what comes first for you? The characters, the setting, or the plot?
usually the plot.
Planner, pantser, or planter?
Lancer.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Morning writer or night writer?
Night Rider. That's the time that I do the best.
Your favorite book you've written?
Oh, huh. I haven't talked about it at all. It's a epic fantasy. I have shared with some friends. I even made a map. Like I actually bought a cardboard with the lines and all that and made a map. And that's still very much a little bit of my. That's one of those book of your heart kind of situation. But it's such a massive world, and it's epic fantasy that I love it, but I'm terrified of it too.
Your least favorite book that you've written?
Hmm.
Probably that first one.
Ooh, I mean, I don't hate it, but I wish I could have done a better job. It's a sci-fi, kind of like mutants,
Mm.
story. It is a fun idea. It's just the execution is horrible.
Mm.
All right, complete the sentence. The best thing about writing is.
That this is gonna be fun. That you get to play God.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Favorite novel of all time?
Oh, wait, where you are? I'm gonna say True Witch by Susan Denner. It is a YA epic fantasy, and it's written like a adult fantasy, but in a more condensed plot and language, which it appeals to the YA audience. It's so good, so good.
Favorite vampire from literature?
Oh, I am. This should be easy, Esther. I'm gonna go with Angel from Buffy the Vampire. It's just, it's broody. It's all that I love and nothing that I write because it's so problematic. But still, I love
Right.
him.
All right, if you could write any other genre, what would it be?
I would actually like to be able to write a thriller.
Oh,
It sounds fun.
all right. Well, you've answered all of our questions. But before we wrap up, please tell our listeners where they can find you and purchase your works.
Easiest way you can find me is here on YouTube. It's under Esther Andújar. I don't have a set schedule, but I post mostly writing blogs and writing chatty videos. And I do run the Romance Writers Room, which is a spin-off of the Writers Room run by Morgan Lee, Barrett Laurie, and Tiffany Russell. It's pretty much a show that helps other authors workshop their romance books. If we don't have anyone on screen to workshop, we help people in chat, kind of like talking about like the plot and all the things that makes a romance a romance. And I am on social media, mostly either Esther Marie Andujar or EM Andujar, one of those versions. I am mostly on Twitter. Yes, I still call it Twitter. It's gonna be forever Twitter. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on TikTok. I think that's the only social medias that I have. And obviously YouTube.
And for those who are listening to this podcast or watching on a different platform, we will have all of Esther's links down below so you can check out her YouTube channel in case if you're interested in that. So thank you so much for joining us today, Esther, and giving us your insight and experience.
This was very much fun. I
Yeah.
loved it. It's just a fun time with friends.
Yes, agreed. Next week, we'll have another tip or trick of the week, followed by an author interview on February 1st with Troy Lambert, where he gives us tips on SEO for authors. And that will do it for us today. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much to our incredible listeners and viewers for joining us on our exploration of everything self-publishing. We hope you found our podcast to be a treasure trove of insights and inspiration. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform or thanks on our YouTube episodes. Don't forget, you can catch all of our past episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and other major podcast platforms. And if you'd like to connect with us, drop us a line at selfpublishingtipstricks@gmail.com. Keep writing, keep publishing, and we'll see you next time.